I saw you heard you slip that word in there too, which is appropriate for Unity Church. Father, Mother, God, right? So today, was not an easy one to put together because I'm speaking on the Four Agreements again. We're studying the book, The Four Agreements. And this week, I'm talking about first agreement, be impeccable with your word, and second agreement, don't take things personally. And I have great talks on both of them, but smushing them both into one can be a bit of a challenge. So we'll see how it works. So the first one, be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. Now, your word is a common spiritual tool. And we hear phrases about your word all the time. Keep your word. Your word is your bond. And that one goes fairly deep. It isn't just a saying, your word is your bond. It is a truth. Your word is your bond. You are bound by your word. Bound by your word and what you do and how you act and how you present yourself and how you are in the world and what you put forth into the world. Because you put forth yourself into the world through your word. Your word is yours alone. Even if you're repeating something somebody else said to you, it's coming out of your mouth. It is your word. It is your responsibility for what it creates, whether it creates good or whether it creates not so good. That is your responsibility. And that is ours to be mindful of when we're speaking and when we're thinking. Your spoken word carries with it the essence of who you are the moment it leaves your lips. Think about that. Your word carries with it the essence of who you are at that particular moment. Whether it be a loving person, a compassionate person, angry, happy, jealous person, and so on. Your word puts that forth out into the world, out into the universe. So you have to be careful with the power you put behind your words. We have a whole study about that in Unity, which is your 12 powers and the power of power. Say that quickly. Your power of power is brought forth through your word, through your spoken word. Your words can make a difference in your life, and your words make a difference in the lives of others. Miguel Ruiz, in this book on page 26, he tells us through the word you express, through the word, you express your creative power. I'm going to say that part again because it's important. Through the word, you express your creative power. It is through the word that you manifest everything. Regardless of what language you speak, your intent manifests through your word. Winifred Hausman, Unity author, in her book, God-Given Potential, which is another book on the 12 powers, which I highly recommend. Page 102, she tells us, through learning to control our thoughts and feelings, we develop poise. Poise is controlled power, energy that is waiting to be released for a chosen activity. Think, what is the chosen activity? What is the chosen power? What is the purpose of your word? What is the poise behind your word? in Scripture. Jesus the Christ tells us about this in Luke 43 through 45. It's one we've heard a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but we've heard it. For no good tree bears bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree bear good fruit. For each tree is known by its own fruit. For figs are not gathered from thorns, although blackberries are. Blackberry bush has thorns in it. Nor are grapes picked from a bramble. The good man of the good treasures of his heart produces good, and the evil man out of the evil treasures produce evil. For out of the abundance of his heart, his mouth speaks. Out of the abundance of his heart, his mouth speaks. And here that is carried through. It's carried through the teachings that we're learning today, as this one was over 2,000 years ago. The words we speak are vibrational sounds. The words we think are no less vibrational, just in a finer, higher sense. The abundance of your heart is what is in your heart, and it is carried through your spoken word. It is carried through your thoughts as well. Song, My Thoughts Are Prayers. Our thoughts are prayers. Da, 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 da. Our thoughts of prayers take care of what you're saying. Keep a higher consciousness. Da, 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 da. Well, that's what that song is about. Our thoughts are prayers. Your thoughts create your world just as much as your words create your world. Your thoughts and your words are both vibrations that you put out in the world. And when you put vibrations out into the world, stuff happens. Things change. Things are moved. And you are moving them. This is where the second agreement comes in. Don't take anything personally. That's a big one. Now, all this book, I'm finding that in discussing the first chapter, and I'm sure Tuesday when we discuss the other ones, it's going to come up again. This book has made people think. It's made people think. And it's good that y'all are thinking, because y'all are thinking on a deep level. You're not just reading the book. The book is pissing some people off. And that's a good thing. It gets you stirred up, gets the sediment rised up so it can be cleared away. And you don't have to agree with what he says. You don't have to agree with anything in the book. But whatever you don't agree with is something for you to look at as to why you don't agree with it. What is it in you that rubs you wrong? What is this saying to you that you're taking personally? It shows us that we are human beings. Now, in the first chapter, he talks about domestication. And people have a trouble, with the idea of being domesticated. You don't want to be domesticated. You want to be free to be who I am. Whoopie-doo. Being domesticated to us, well, in my idea, is like you're calmed down. You're not allowed to be who you are. But in the world, in this world, being spiritual beings in a material world, whole nother song about that too. But you have to have some sense of connection to the world. And that's where our domestication comes in. As we saw in the first chapter, we'll go on into here, part of our domestication process is the installation of fear. So we run on a process of good and not good based on fear. What are the consequences? The consequences are generally bad if it's not good for me. So I am going to disagree with that. When the truth is, it just is. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is. And it's our conditioning, it's how we're raised, it's who has raised us to what gives us the idea of something being good or not good. You can have two families living next to each other, and the children in this one family will learn that something is good. Some children in this other family will learn something is not good. Same thing. It's all part of living in this world. And then once we get to a certain age, we get to decide for ourselves what is good and not good. And as I said in the class, that's why we are here. Very few of us, Michael's a Unity baby. Very few of us were raised in Unity. Most of us were raised in one of the more prominent religions. And there was a point in that prominent religion where we said, that isn't for me. And so you decided to look, and here you are. Here you are. Because you knew the truth of you. And the truth of you resonates, and you were able to pick up on that resonation, so to speak. And you're able to live a life more full, more aware. And that's what all of this is about. All of this is about awareness. It's all about awareness. And taking something personally comes up when your world is challenged. When it's challenged in some way, it generates a need for you to protect it. I know I was challenged by Catholicism. I really, I gained a lot from Catholicism. But there were certain aspects of it that just, no, don't think so. So I started on my spiritual journey, which included teachers and Theosophical Society, Gurdjieff group, all kinds of things. And I was told by a little lady, an actual little blue-haired lady, in the Theosophical Society that I should go to Unity. And that's the first I had heard of it. And then my teacher, I had a spiritual teacher who was teaching me about the Western studies. She told me that one day I would probably be a Unity minister. And I said, I didn't even know what Unity was. I always thought she was a bit out there because she said, to stay away from caffeine and coffee. And I thought that was really weird. But I went to a Unity church for the first time and heard something that spoke to me. So I started following that. And along the way, I took things personally. There were teachings that came up in Unity that I didn't like. I just about left. But I didn't. I decided to, if that bothers me so much, I need to find out why that bothers me so much. And I did. And it has helped tremendously. The agreement to not take things personally is one of the primary causes of us not being impeccable with our word. If you take something personally, what happens? Boom. It comes up. Your energy comes up. Your power comes up. Your protection comes up. And then if you're not aware of it, what happens to it? There it goes, out into the world. We have a lot of different ways to relate to that. The pile of feathers that the wind blows, you can't either gather them back. Squeezing out a tube of toothpaste, trying to get that back in the tube. Doesn't work. So it's awareness. Be aware before it comes out of your mouth, especially when you're taking something personally. When that energy comes up. That energy can be used to redirect it. Redirect it into a peaceful response. And that's the key for when you're taking something personal. Be able to take that moment to respond rather than react. Responding rather than reacting. It's a simple thing. We've all heard it goo-gobs of times. But it's always pertinent. It's pertinent every day. By not taking things personally, you are acknowledging your individuality. You're acknowledging your personal power. Your power as a creative being by using your wisdom and understanding in your discernment to what is true and what you can use to create a better world for yourself and those around you. Matthew chapter 7, verses 1, 2, and 5. Judge not that you will not be judged, for the judgment you pronounce will be with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And the measure you give will be the measure you get. First, take the log out of your own eye. Then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. It's generally thought of, don't judge others or they will judge you. Well, others are going to judge you anyway. That's part of the game. Part of the game. The judgment you pronounce is the judgment you're pronouncing on yourself. You're holding yourself to someone else's standards. That's why it riles you up. It has touched you in a place where perhaps you have worked long and hard to change. You're not like that anymore. You know you're not like that anymore. But something someone says reminds you of what you were like, of what that part of your life was, or whatever. And boom, you become defensive. But if you're comfortable in your skin, if you're comfortable in who you are, comfortable in how you are, in your power, in your truth, you can just, well, okay, that's what you think. And that's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. And that's part of not taking things personally. Everyone has a right to their opinion. Everyone has a right to believe what they believe, and they have a right to be wrong. Not only in your eyes, but in the eyes of the whole rest of the world too. They have a right. Everyone has their right to their perception and their belief system in the world. The judgment you pronounce is that which you hold for yourself. When you have a personal, clean bill of health, with yourself, you're not bothered by what other people say to you or about you. The other saying is, someone else's opinion is none of my business. None of my business. It's their business. They are bringing into their life any negativity that they put out there. And you're bringing into your life any negativity that you latch onto. You have to latch onto it. Bring it home. If you don't latch onto it, it isn't yours. It isn't yours. It'll just go away. Charles Fillmore, in his book, Jesus Christ Heals, page 62, says, love is not selfish. We cannot have selfishness and love at the same time. We cannot have this universal brotherhood unless we love everybody. Okay. We must love all because we are all one. There must be in our consciousness a recognition of the universal right of all to all the possessions of the world. There must be in our consciousness a recognition of the universal right of all to all the possessions of the world. Now, all the possessions of the world does mean all the good the world can have. You know, all of the human rights, all the personal rights, all, food, shelter, health care, all of that. Those are things of the world. But also how we move are things in the world. Our opinions are things of the world. Our wisdom are things of the world. This not only pertains to all the good things of the world, it also pertains to their choice of what makes up their belief system. It pertains to our choice of what makes up our belief system. We all have a right to our agreements, the agreements we have made with the world, the agreements we have made with spirit, the agreements that we live our lives by. Remember, you're always dealing with two things. You're dealing with fear or you're dealing with love. You're dealing with love or you're dealing with fear. Two things. That's it. An action based on fear is based in judgment. An action based in love is discernment. We can tell right and wrong without being negative. Just discern. That's the difference between discernment and judgment. So we want to discern what is right for us. We discern what is for us. Discern what is not for us. Action based in love, governed by discernment, comes from a place of response instead of reaction. That's what you're doing. You're discerning rather than judging when you respond rather than react. Doing this breaks the cycle. It breaks the cycle of the idea of separation of yourself and those around you, which has been created by the domestication process. It's been created by you're either right or you're wrong. And to be able to move beyond that breaks that cycle. You're no longer putting out negativity. If negativity comes at you, you simply love it anyway. Simply, yeah. It's all simple, but none of it's easy. And it takes the 3 P's. What are they? Practice, practice, practice. All day is an opportunity to practice this stuff. When you do not take things personally, You are able to use your words wisely. You are allowing a breath of fresh air to bring peace instead of turmoil and anxiety into your life. You've removed the log from your eye so you can see the love in your heart that will move through you and through your creation. God is power. You are powerful. And you have the power to use your words of truth to make them the abundance of good that they are, that they can be. The abundance of good that is in your heart. And you can pass that abundance on to others. So that, using Khalil Gibran's quote from the prophet, so that when you meet your friend on the roadside or in the marketplace, let the Spirit in you move your lips and direct your tongue. Let the voice within your voice speak to the ear of his ear, for his soul will keep the truth of your heart as the taste of the wine is remembered when the color is forgotten and the vessel is no more. God blesses you.